Welcome all, Boone here from EWPRO. Getting straight into the weekly outlook, looking at the DXY on the daily, looking at this A, B, C here. It's not quite down to that 100 fib yet. If we go down to the lower time frame, there is still a chance that we do get more downside here. We have like 1, 2, 3, possible wave 4 and a wave 5 down, so we can still get this wave 5 down. We have a bear hidden here. It's not valid to trade. Well, it probably is. You could look for a sell. Yeah, I'd be looking for the sell. If you got some sort of I'll just go down to the lower time frame, make it easier to see. On the M15, we sort of have already 5 up. We've got like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up. All the bearish divergence. We're starting to get a little correction in here. So you could look for a sell here. It may just give you like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but it may also come down and break that low, and with that bear hidden on the higher time frame. So at minimum, you should get a fifth wave down in here. Ideally, it goes and breaks the low for you. AU, I'm looking at this A, B, C here. This may turn expanding, before we get downside. I'm looking at like 1, 2, 3, 4, and a fifth wave up here. On the H4, we're waiting for this wave 4 here. We're waiting for this time factor in this wave 4, and then we can trade a wave 5 up. On the H1, this can be a flat here. You got to be very careful buying. I mean, I don't think we quite have a bear hidden here yet, but this can be like an A, B, C, a flat in here, and then you get an A, B, C. Really need to fill this time factor in before I look for a buy. You can scalp it, but yeah, that's more for the experienced trader. GU, looking for more upside overall. Like on the weekly, I got an A, a B, and I'm looking for a C up. On the daily, I'm looking for an A, B, C in here, a flat, and then we get an A, B, C before we get that larger C up. So I wouldn't be surprised if we get a C down in here. Really like to see a C down, and then you could buy for, another impulse up. There is no sell on it. There is no sell on it. It's tricky on the H4 because we don't have any bearish divergence. We have 5 up here with no bearish divergence. So that makes it quite tricky. I would like to see an impulse down in here, like I said on the higher time frame there, but there is no sell on it. We have a bull hidden here, so I wouldn't be surprised if we get another higher high here. It's more bullish at this stage, in my view, on the H4 anyway, until this low here gets broken. Like if this comes down, breaks that low, well, that'll take out that possible bull hidden, and then if we get a correction, well, then you could look for a sell. But until that happens, it's quite dangerous. On the lower time frame, we are getting a bear hidden in here on the H1. So we may get like a correction in here and another one up in here, and then it goes down and breaks his low. And that's what I expect to happen here. And then, you could look for a buy to go and break that top with that ball hidden. EU, we already reached that 100 fib, excuse me, on the weekly. We've got to see up to that 100 fib, so that's fine. Really just looking at the lower time frames now to see when this wave sees over. H4, it's getting very difficult too, because if you follow Elliott wave, well, the wave 4 shouldn't come into the territory of the wave 2, and that's what this has done. So this may be an ending diagonal. But yeah, we do have a ball hidden in here as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if we get some sort of a correction here. Another one down, just breaking this low, and then giving us a higher high here for that wave 4. Well, for the wave 5 up rather. We're looking at this time factor here though. This wave 2, this wave 2 on the H4 was a very large correction. So we'd be expecting a really large correction over here as well. But yeah, I'd be waiting for this time factor to be safe, and then if we get a complete correction, then we can start to look for a buy for that wave 5. NU, we're pretty much just looking at this last piece in here, because I was looking for that A, B, and a C up to that 100 fib. Instead, we got a really large correction in here on the daily. So I'll just zoom in a little bit so you can see a little bit better. But I'm looking for this A, B, and a C. It's just about up to that 100 fib like we were looking at. It may turn motive, like give you a wave 3, a 4, and a 5 up in here. On the H4, we're waiting for a wave 4, and then we look for that wave 5 up. Pretty much like we've been looking at for a long time. This wave 3 went a little bit past that 123.6. So pretty much waiting for a wave 4, and then trade a wave 5 up. You could scalp this too. This may be internal here. This may be internal here, and it's just 1, 2, or an A, B, C down, and then we go up and break the top. But I'd be very careful with that. There's a couple of reasons why. First is, we have a possible bear hidden here. And this can be like an A, B, C here, a flat. And then we get an A, B, C before we get that 5th wave up. So it really depends on what correction we get on the lower time frames. It's pretty much on all of them. I'll just show you on the EU for an example. But on the M15, on the NU as an example, on the M15, we have a nice impulse up, and it's given us a higher high. It's broken this high here. So if we do get a correction in here, you can buy. Or if we get an impulse down like this, well, then you could sell for that bear hidden here to go and break this low. So it really depends on what correction we get in here on the lower time frames, what direction we're going to actually trade this in the shorter term, that is. GY, we're in this wave Y. It's just about up to that 161.8. Then I'll be looking for an X2 and a Z up to finish off this B wave. This A, B, and then I'll be looking for a C down before we get more upside. As for the buys, I'm not looking for the buys. We got a lot of bearish divergence here. But there is no sell set up either. I'm really looking for a sell. More than likely this will go up and break the top again. We have a bullish hidden divergence there. So more than likely this will break the top here. And then if we got a lower low here and then a bearish correction and a bearish setup to sell, well then you could look for a sell. I'm pretty much waiting for this. Waiting for an impulse down from a top, a correction, and then a sell setup, and then I'll take the sell. Rather than buying up the top of the market with all that bearish divergence. UY is pretty similar. I'm looking at this internal, like 1, 2, 3, 4, and we get a fifth wave up in here before it turns more complex like that. A, B, C, A, B, C, A, B, C. This can turn quite complex in here. H4, we got the 5 up in here. That was fine. Then we got an A, a B, and a C. We got a nice impulse up. So if we get a bullish correction in here and a bullish setup, you can buy to go and break the top. CAD has broken the low on the daily, like we're looking at that WXY, X2, and a Z down. We've got all that now. We've broken the low, so that's good. We also have 5 down on the H4. But we've got to be very careful because we lost the bullish divergence. There's no bullish divergence. So this is going to be quite difficult. It's not ideal. Could get another one up in here and then another one down to finish off this wave Z. But yeah, it's quite ideally this would just come up, break this top, and then give us a correction and a buy setup, and we could look for a buy. But then you're not really getting the risk reward if by the time we get this big impulse here. So this is more for the experienced trader. If you're going to trade this at this stage, I'd be looking for a buy. Got a nice flat in here for an A, B, and at least a C up. It may turn motive and break the top. But yeah, you'd have to go down to the lower time frames and look for a bullish setup in here. You'd have to wait for little correction and a buy setup to buy. The Swissy, we got that A, B, C right down to that 100 fib. We've bounced clean off that 100 fib. This is quite difficult as well. We lost the divergence here. There's no divergence. So again, I wouldn't be surprised if we get just 3 up in here and then another one down. We may even get like a 1, 2, 3, 4, and a fifth wave down. That's pretty much what I'm looking at. A larger correction, similar size to this over here, and then you could look for a sell to go and break the low. Yeah, before we'd be looking for long-term buys. EG on the daily, we got the 5 up. Got that leading diagonal in here, and then I'm looking at an A, a B, and a C here for a flat, for possible more upside. There was a buy on this on Friday on the lower time frames that I showed in my group. But we got 5 down in here, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Bullish divergence. We got a nice impulse up. So if you get 3 down, nice correction, bullish setup, well, you could look to buy for another 5 up on the daily, like 5, 3, 5. It's you pretty much, if you're not in it already, you're pretty much waiting for a correction. We're starting to get the correction. This can be like an A wave. You get a B in here and a C down as a basic zigzag, and then you get like an A, B, C. So we got to wait for that correction, and then we'll look for a buy. WTI, I'm pretty much looking at a C up here. Like I'm looking at that a B, and looking for that C up now. We have broken this low over here, so that's what I was looking for to happen. It was very slow to do that. Took a very long time, but it has completed that now. So ever since that happened, we've been looking for a buy, obviously. It's very messy. It's quite choppy. Oil, but I'll be looking at like 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5th wave up in here, and we've got a flat here. It's a little bit larger, this flat, but I'd still be looking for, at least one more up to go and break the top. We don't have any bearish divergence, so it's quite risky to trade. I mean, this pretty much followed my arrow here. I was looking for a correction of similar size to that before we take off and give us like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There is that possible larger flat here too that I just showed. And it takes off from here. It gives us a higher high too. So that's what I mean. This is quite difficult to trade at this stage. There's a couple of different alternative counts you could put on this. So yeah, it's really for the experienced traders, and you're pretty much just scalping. Yeah. Gold is right up the top of the market. We got the 5 up here in the wave 3 on the monthly. Um, I wouldn't be surprised if we get a higher high here. We have a bull hidden. That low there wasn't broken. We have a bull hidden. We have an impulse up. If I just go down to we have a nice impulse down, but because we have that bull hidden, it can pretty much go either way. If I just zoom in a little bit, like we could get another one up in here for an A, B, C, which is, you pretty much be looking for a buy for like this A, B, C on the shorter time frames. But then we can get like an A, a B, and a C, not breaking this low, but just breaking this low here. And then it goes up and breaks the top with that bull hidden. At this stage, it's a buy. You just have to look at the price action for that, and pretty basic stuff. We've got a nice impulse up correction. So you're looking for at least that top to be broken. And if the bull hidden plays out from here, well, more than likely you'll get 5 up, breaking the top. So you could look down onto the lower time frames Monday and look for a buy if you're not already in it. Silver, very similar to gold, but this one would probably be a little bit better to buy. We got this A wave. I'm looking for this B and then get a C up. This has fallen quite deep. There is no hidden divergence or anything on this time frame. We do have three down in here. Unlike gold, we've already got three down. We've got like an A, a B, and a C here. Not really on this time frame, but we could get more upside from here. But just go down to the H1 quickly. You really need to get in on the lower time frames. Go down onto the lower time frames, look for an impulse, a correction, and then look for a buy. If you get a buy set up, well, then you could buy. Bitcoin, we were looking at this. There was a couple of scenarios here on Bitcoin. On YouTube, I was looking at this as the impulse, and we get a correction and then more downside. That's pretty much what's played out. This also could have gone from here as a buy, but it was very choppy. So, this is pretty much a gimme trade. But I'll be looking at an expanding flat here. If I just zoom out a bit, you'll see that we got five up. We had the five up here. We had like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Lost the divergence. So looking for a larger correction before we get more upside. So we got that a B, looking at this as a C down. At this stage, we do have bullish divergence between, the two lows. So that's fine. They're probably, this C down more than likely isn't complete. I wouldn't be surprised if we get like a 1, 2, 3, 4, and a fifth wave down in here, and we get a bear hidden. So you'd have to be careful. If you got a correction on the lower time frames and look for a buy, well, you'd be expecting at least a C up, like an A, B, C. Excuse me. And then you'd have to be careful, because if we had a bear hidden there, well, it could fall over and break the low before it takes off. But you may get an opportunity for a buy here. It's really just a scalp, and again, you got to get a really nice correction in here before you can even think of it. Because even on the H1, we have a bear hidden in here, but if we get a nice correction in here, you can look for a C up, at least a C up, and if you're lucky, it takes off, and we don't get that fifth wave down. But you can't really, forecast for that. At this stage, we have that bear hidden on H4 and on H1, but at this stage, it'd be more of a buy if you got a correction just for 3 up. You have to be at break even at the break of this top, because this C up, if it happens, may only just break that top and then fall over on you. So you'd have to monitor your trade and take care of it, because there is that bear hidden there, and I'd be looking for a buy, which sounds stupid, but I mean, if you could wait for 3 up in here and then look for a sell to break the low. But in the meantime, you could scalp it, and you more than likely you'll get a buy set up out of it. But I'd just be looking for that C up. S&P 500, really not much to do here. On the W1, we've got 5 up here. We got this. Well, we've got 5, larger correction, and now we've got another 5 up. And as you can see, the fifth wave has reached a second target here, that 161.8. It's finding a lot of resistance at this level. You know, you got to be very careful buying. We're getting bearish divergence on the H1. The daily. This is more of a buy too now on the lower time frames. Go down to the H1, we got a nice impulse up. So if you got a correction in here, you could look to buy to go and break the top. You got to wait for a nice correction, and it's really scalping, and you're buying right up the top of the market, so you do have to be quite careful. AU200, it just didn't play out, unfortunately. This is looking very corrective. I was hoping that would go up and break the top. It didn't, so I'd be pretty much looking at that as a top. And this is an A, this is a B, and we get a C down in here before we get more upside. Very difficult to trade the way I teach people to trade. I'd be pretty much staying out of this. We didn't come from a top. Like, this impulse here didn't come from a top. The tops are over here. So it's going to be very difficult to trade. It's more, excuse me, it's more for the experienced traders. Pretty much the same for the footsie, you know. I think last week we had a nice impulse down. I was looking for a correction here. And then we could have looked for a sell. But we didn't get a correction. We got another impulse. So you can trade it both ways. You could scalp this. We got an impulse and an impulse. We may get another impulse here, a correction, and then you could sell for a C down, like an A, B, C, and then you could look for an A, B, C flat in here before you get an A, B, C. It's really just scalping. That's one sort of correction I'd be looking at, what I just showed there. It can turn quite complex, so it's more for the experienced trader. And lastly, the DAX. It's already broken the top of this one. This is still looking rather bullish in here, so I wouldn't be surprised if we do go up and break the top. We had this impulse here, and whatever's happening in here, it's looking rather corrective. So, it could go up and break that top. But again, it's quite risky. You're right up the top of the market. You'd have to work out what sort of correction you got in here. So you could probably look at this as an A, B, and a C. If you got a little correction in here on the lower time frames, you could look for a buy to go and break the top, or at least an A, a B, and a C. So I hope you all got something out of this video. If you did, please hit the like button, share, and subscribe. Enjoy your weekend, and I'll see you out there next week.